Everybody, Short Circuit Core here. If you follow my last video, you know what all this crap is. This is, well, this isn't my stuff, unfortunately, even though as sweet as it is. This is bass comas, my little brother's. And I mess with this stuff a lot. So, people will ask me, why do you use your Ableton setup, which is, some people call it cheap because it tempo syncs stuff for you if you want it to. I have everything tempo synced at a quarter bar, which is, where is it? Oh, there we go, quarter bar. And how that works is basically it triggers songs very quickly, like that. And basically, because I like to have things come in very quickly. I hate having to wait for the bar to come in. And if I want something to come in quicker than normal, then yeah, I do that. So I would use CDJs and stuff like that, but it's a huge pain in the ass at times because when I'm mixing songs together, it goes at 120 BPM, so boom, 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 boom. Not quite that fast, but if something goes wrong, if I don't get this synced up properly, it just sounds like an absolute mess, and it takes just too long to fix it all. So I use Ableton. I have it wired into the mixer through a USB cable, and then I have everything, all the audio, everything is mapped to controllers in Ableton, but the sound itself goes straight to here. And the reason I want it to go here is because the filters here and all the other effects sound so much cleaner than they ever could in Ableton, and they're right here. It's much more intuitive, and it's just great. I mean, that's Pioneer for you. They're just awesome. If you ever have the money to buy mixing gear, get Pioneer. Always, even if it is stupidly expensive. So here's how my whole setup works. It's very simple. Each one of these channels represents a channel in Ableton. Now what I do is, it looks like I have 8 channels mapped out, but what I did is I put a space in between each channel just so I don't accidentally hit something and screw up. So yes, channel 1 is channel 1 over here, and so on and so forth. And that's how it works, and it's great because it feels very intuitive. It's like, oh, I'm on channel 1 over here. Oh, it's on channel 1 over here. It feels very natural, opposed to having 8 channels mapped over 4. I tried that. That's just a stupid mess. Now, what I used to do for my setup is I used to have this to launch songs. This was to this was the effects. This was actually the mixer, so this would control volume, EQs, and stuff like that. And then this would be the effects for like filters and phasers and flangers, loopers, and all the delays and reverbs. And problem with this is that the sound quality is not that great. It only goes up so high, and once you push it past a certain limit, it just sounds like crap. And then you have to adjust it more on the mixer, and then it just sounds even more crap. And yeah, so if you're playing at a small venue, this is great. But like as my brother and bass coma pointed out, if you're playing at the Blue Note, this is the last thing you want to use because your stuff will just sound awful. So then I switched over and I used this as both the mixer and the effects controller. I would use the pads to trigger the effects. These were filters, and these controlled lows, and these two controlled channels 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then these controlled the beat effect parameters. So this would be beat effect for channels 1 and 2, and then channels 3 and 4, and then these would adjust the grid of the beat effect. Problem is that I really wanted to do more with it, and it's just such a pain in the ass to map one of these. It really is. So I readjusted it. Now, this triggers the songs, but all the mixing and everything is done on the mixer. So if I'm playing this simple clock sound over here, I can filter that and then bring in something else. Filter that out and then bring another sound in. That was nothing, actually, but plus another thing that's great about this that I can't do with CDJs is, say if I got a song like this called Vinyl Scratches Bass Cannon, there's a portion of it where the song itself cuts out and basically voices come in, and it kind of ruins the atmosphere, I believe, for the crowd. So what I did is that I can set global launches, and what that means is like I press that button, and what this means is flashing is after a certain amount of time it'll jump to a point in the song that I want it to, which is great because jumping between cues means I have to have the same song loaded over here as I do over here, but I have to jump, and it's just a mess. And now what the trigger finger does is interesting. All it does is warp time itself. So I have this going. This adjusts the tempo up. Actually down, sorry. This adjusts the tempo down. This adjusts the tempo up. And then this is the global tempo controller. So right now the tempo is at 127.5. If I raise it all the way, it goes to 120, it goes to 130.5. Very slight difference, you can't really tell it, but with some songs it is very big, and it used to be that I would try and map this and it was the biggest pain because the tempo would be from like 5 to 400, so it never worked. And now I finally got to work, so hooray! So that's how my whole spiel works. It's much more simpler than people think, because Ableton Live, it's really one of those tools that like it's like the most daunting thing in the world until you really just give it a great shot. Like you spend about a couple afternoons cracking it apart, and it's really like one of the best programs I've ever used. I truly love this. Yes, I would prefer Ableton over Tractor, over pure CDJs or vinyl or anything. I just love it that much because the great thing about Ableton is you can do things you can't. If I really wanted to, I could do the whole 8 channels on this, and I could run 8 sample songs onto a 4-channel mixer, something it's impossible to do with CDJs or Tractor because they only allow you 4 decks. So, and that's what I love about it. Plus, you can personalize everything to how you want it to, so only you know your setup, and so you know it best. Nobody else can use your setup like you can, and that's why I love it. And so that's just how my whole setup works. It's very simple. I plan to put up this past weekend. I did a show in Fulton, and I think people loved it. I'm hoping. So sometime in the future, I will put up that set, maybe either a video or just the pure audio, I don't know. So that's it. Enjoy. Later.